Are you ready?
No.
No. We're all talked out.
Welcome back to Invincible Asia. I'm George from Movie Misfit, and this is my new show, Untold Stories, where I talk to other Hong Kong film fans about the movies we love and why we love them.
So, Mike, thanks for joining me on the very first episode of Untold Stories.
Your stories about me and George. No, we can't.
We're chopping up people and eating them. Yeah. So yes, this is obviously
Thank
the first.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to do this, of course, much sooner, but due to COVID, we haven't been able to talk online.
Yeah, I know, because COVID just goes through the internet. That's how it spread around the world so quickly.
Exactly, it's through emails.
See, that's why COVID in China was controlled, because the internet speed in China is very slow. So, but because you all have broadband and fiber, it just went.
That actually does sound like a Philip Coe movie. So.
And then the Techno Warriors shall come out.
Oh my word! So yes, okay. So we've.
But it is crazy that the last time we were face to face was just over 2 years ago in Hong Kong.
It was about a month
and
before.
And then the world changed.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
So
and it
fast.
turned into Albert Pyne's Cyborg. And,
it did, yeah.
The city's crumbled.
I was expecting that to happen, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, we've had.
I was ready to change my name to Fender Tremolo. Yeah.
That's 2 years now, or just over 2 years. Yeah. And that year, 2019, then you were here with us in Ireland before.
Yeah, and that was the first time I'd seen. And yeah, that was what was funny, because we hadn't seen each other, I think, for 7 years.
Yeah, it was quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I came over to see you at the festival, and then 2 months later you were in Hong Kong. Yeah.
So you were with Albert.
And then you destroyed the world.
I did. Well, I had to. I was traveling. Yeah, you were with Albert for your second visit to our festival.
Yeah.
Then 2019, you were back with us, and then we were with you in Hong Kong 2 months later, 3 months later, and it was amazing to finally get there. But yeah, the last 2 years have kind of disappeared, really, haven't they?
Like, I hate to say that I've seen people who had it a lot worse, but it's been a crazy time, because so much stuff that was meant to happen got put to one side.
Yeah, let's say the world kind of knows you for what you do, and obviously with legally, and then for your audio commentaries, of course, and many other things, as well as your appearances and work in the Hong Kong film industry and beyond. What would have been then, or is, your first real memory of Hong Kong cinema? Like, how early did you become a fan? What did you watch?
I can trace my real love for Hong Kong cinema. The two movies that made me go, ooh, Hong Kong cinema, was a double bill of Snake and the Eagle Shadow and Drunken Master.
Wow.
I had bunked off school with my friends, Leslie Tough. I'm going to get them in trouble. Leslie Tough, Asher, and Chris Brennan, and Paul Clifford. We bunked off school, and we put in a Betamax double bill, and it had the Neil Adams artwork from Rank Video. And the funny thing was, up until then, I used to be the guy who made fun of kung fu movies. I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to show you my style before I fight you. Isn't that a bit stupid? This is all crap. And then Snake and the Eagle Shadow and Drunken Master, concentrated Yung Woo Ping and Jackie Chan goodness went in.
Yeah.
And suddenly I was like, Hong Kong movies, Hong Kong, I got to watch more of these. And I literally, after that, was, chasing down every Hong Kong movie and every martial arts movie I could possibly find.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the same with myself. It was it was that immediate early hook. I mean, what age would you have been about with that, do you reckon?
I was probably about 12 or 13.
Yeah, okay.
We started bunking off school young.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably when I started collecting. You've obviously seen my collection here at home, and that's been from around 12 years of age. And I think maybe when I was about 5 or 6, I'd kind of hired my first Jackie Chan movie, and it was the early low-way stuff because of the illustrated covers.
I think the good old days, because it was the video boom, like when every newsagent suddenly had a video section.
Yeah, right.
You know, like bizarre shops, like record shops would have a video section. I remember there was a kebab shop in Croydon that had a video section. Like,
very good.
And you had to have memberships with all these different clubs because certain movies were only in certain shops.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, you know, this shop has the pre-certificate movies, and this shop has that, and this shop's got an uncut version of this movie, and this shop never cares that you're 12 years old going, please sir, can I have this movie that's called Violence and Sex Unlimited? Yeah.
I know, right?
I'll pay my 50p. Yeah,
and it was trying to find an adult to sign up for you, wasn't it? It was like you had to find somebody that was willing to put their name down for you. And what would have been your main rentals then? What would your memory be of your rentals as such?
There was a newsagent called Mr. Hills on Lower Addiscombe Road, and he just had this incredible collection of kung fu movies, you know, and martial arts movies from everywhere, and like ones that now I realize are very valuable, that were like the Hokoshin label and you know, the VTC stuff.
VTC,
so like, yeah, and just like, oh my god, like you're watching. I always joke about it. It's like, I think people now don't realize just how hard it was back then to get access to the movies, and also how badly cut. Like, I wasn't a Bruce Lee fan while I was in England because the Bruce Lee movies I saw were all badly cut. Yeah. Like the first version of Fist of Fury I saw, Bruce Lee's fighting in the dojo. Suddenly everyone's holding their heads and holding their ankles. And then Way of the Dragon, Bruce Lee walks down the restaurant, goes into the alleyway, and then walks straight back in.
That's the one I had. Yeah.
It's a joke because he's so fast.
Yeah. And you did. You were kind of caught off guard, especially when you didn't know the filmmaking process as much. You didn't really have a clue really why this was going on as such.
And then, of course, like sometimes movies would randomly turn up on TV. Like I remember Enter the Dragon was shown uncut on TV.
Wow.
Like, you know,
amazing.
You know, and it was suddenly like, there's nunchucks and there's cool stuff. And like, you know, it was the height of the ninja boom.
Yes,
And it was the same thing with the UK laws being strict, because, of course, if you wanted to buy a ninja weapon like a Manriki Gasari, which is an axe on the chain, you have to have martial arts club membership and you have to have this. I'm like, okay, that's 30 quid to buy that. I can just go and buy a carving knife for a fiver. You know, like if I want to kill someone. I was like, I don't think on the football terrace there's many people with an axe on a chain swinging it around. And
could you imagine?
You know, basically in metalwork I made a whole bunch of ninja stars and a sword and everything. And my teacher he thought it was great, but the headmaster did not think it was great.
I'm sure, yeah.
And got very angry because everyone else was like, I made a pencil case and I made a ruler. I was like, I made some shurikens and I built this huge samurai sword for killing people. And he was like, okay, mate, no more for you.
Very similar technology teachers, so we did. Yeah. Well, my early like childhood rentals, I can remember being specifically the low-A stuff, but Armor of God, Legend of the Golden Pearl.
Oh, I love that movie. Yes,
it was in. I mean, it just blew me away as a kid.
Because entertainment in video should be given so much respect. We wouldn't know who Jean-Claude Van Damme was without entertainment video, because they really marketed the hell out of that. And I remember I'd rented, I don't know what movie it was, but I'd rented a movie and there was the trailer for No Retreat, No Surrender on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I watched that trailer about 5 times. And I called my friend Leslie and was like, you need to come to my house now to watch this trailer. He's like, why? I said, it's from the creators of Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Because you know, and I was like, and he was like, his mum and dad? I was like, no, just. And I remember he came and we watched the trailer probably about 6 or 7 times before we actually watched the movie afterwards.
Oh, wow.
And the other movie was okay, but we were like, the trailer. So entertainment in video, I mean, they did the Jackie Chans, they did some of they did like Legend of the Gold Pearl. Okay, sorry, Legend of Wisely.
Legend of Wisely. I have since upgraded to the uncut DVD, of course, yeah.
And then, of course, like but you go, that was the crazy thing. And it's like you mentioned it the other day in your thing of legendary weapons, that certain titles were randomly available. Like, you know, like it was very bizarre because it wasn't driven then by Jackie Chan, or you'd be suddenly like certain titles would just pop up and you'd be like, why is this movie available?
But then this is what helped our love for Hong Kong cinema grow, because there was unknown to us then, strangers that were wowing us still, and it wasn't just Jackie Chan.
It's like with the Bruceploitation. When I was young, I didn't know the difference between Bruce Lee and Bruce Lee and Bruce Ler.
Yeah.
Until I got home and went, these people don't look alike. What's going on? Although I will always say Game of Death was my favorite of the Bruce Lee movies back then. Yeah. Because one, I loved the opening credits, like the Christopher Strong opening credits, and the music by John Barry. And I didn't know then that it was cut and paste, and like bizarrely, that's really Bruce Lee's funeral footage. And
I know, yeah.
Now you sit back and go, can you imagine how fucked up that was for his family to be at the premiere of the movie 5 years later? And look, here's a close up of his dead body.
Yeah, it is a bit twisted, like when you think about it. Well, Way of the Dragon on that same video label. Bizarrely, one of my best friend at that time, 7-8 years of age, had a copy of Way of the Dragon, and every weekend that I went to his house, we watched it, and it was just amazing. But I never became a massive Bruce Lee fan as such. It was always more about Jackie and Sammo, and of course they were more available.
Jackie was the one who really got my attention, and it was only when I was in Hong Kong that Sammo Hung found out I wasn't a big Bruce Lee fan, and then took me by the ear and told me that the next day I was going to go to his office in Grampian Road in Kowloon City, and we were going to watch Bruce Lee movies, and he was going to explain why I needed to watch them.
I mean, that's possibly one of the greatest things ever you could ever admit to, is having to watch a Bruce Lee movie with Sammo Hung.
He's showing me, and he's explaining about camera work and changes, and like pointing out references, and explaining that pretty much every movie he makes, there's a Bruce Lee reference. And and it was great, one, to be seeing the passion that Sammo had, because Sammo still respects Bruce Lee. So it was amazing to see that, and it was just, it really made me reevaluate. And I think it's funny that you go, there was certain timing, like, for some people it was, Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie Chan, that was their introduction. Yeah. Some people it was Super Cop, when Super Cop got a big release in America and everything in the early 90s. Yeah.
The unfortunate re-edit.
Now, of course, you can watch a movie in the original Cantonese, English dub, audio commentaries, everything. Remember when we started, most of the time you're watching an English dub that was full screen.
Oh, totally.
That some movies would be
and lost,
a weapon on one side.
On the side. Yeah.
And you'd be like,
or
what's going on?
Half a face would be shown. Yeah. And it always confused me. And I was, as again, unknowledgeable as to how the filmmaking process worked or why they were like this. I often thought these were really badly shot movies.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons people have that impression that, kung fu movies, because you'd see a badly dubbed, badly framed.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And you'd be going, these people don't know what they're doing.
But then we look at and
then suddenly you see Eastern Continental Letterbox and you're like, Jesus Christ, this is beautiful.
It's amazing. And some of them look like they were made yesterday. Or I feel, even though I've watched, for example, I think Dragon Fist was one of the earlier idiot restored low-way classics.
Yeah.
That blew me away because I felt like I was watching a totally different movie, a completely new movie, and it wowed me.
The thing, like, I remember when I would go up to Chinatown and I would pay 30, 25, 30 pounds for a 4th or 5th generation pure Chinese release.
Yeah.
And like, I would be like, I have this movie. I don't know what's going on, but it's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
and that's what I think people forget, that you would sometimes, like, I'm probably going to upset some people. I think some people, there's sometimes you get the people who go, I used to like Hong Kong movies, but then I didn't like them. I go, because you didn't fall in love with them. Because, like, you saw a Hong Kong movie and then you went online and went, what are the 10 best John Woo movies? What are the 10 best Hong Kong movies? And then you watched them all in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going to see A Better Tomorrow and it was on a double bill.
Wow.
And the second movie was an action comedy, and the poster for A Better Tomorrow looked like it was a movie about school teachers.
Yeah.
Because it was Emily Chu, the girl, sitting in a chair smiling.
Oh,
with Leslie
yes. I've seen that artwork.
Fat and Dylan all standing behind her looking like teachers.
Yeah. What a terrible poster.
So my friend said, we're going to stay in the pub and just go to the second movie. And I was like, well, I'm going to go and get us some seats. So I'll see you guys at the cinema.
Yeah.
And my friends arrived, and I was like, guns, long coats. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah.
Unreal. I mean, you're so lucky to have that chance, and that, like, here in Northern Ireland, we'd never have ever had a cinema show an Asian movie as such.
There's no like Northern Ireland Chinatown. Is there a Belfast Chinatown or anything?
There's a street. There's a street, but there's nothing there. There's never been a store there that has. Now, a Chinese supermarket, I remember having to put down a £30 deposit so I could rent videos. But again, these were like third, fourth, fifth generation bootlegs, you know. But my video collection was already expanding rapidly, but I never had the chance to see anything on the big screen until Rumble in the Bronx got its cinematic release. And then I think the next Asian movie after that, or Chinese or Hong Kong movie after that, would have been, Kung Fu Hustle, possibly. That's how many we got here in the big screen, you know, as in from Hong Kong.
I think that's the funny thing, because like for me, I was too young for some of the late night Kung Fu. So I'd missed out on the kind of 70s and 80s late night Kung Fu. I was too young.
Yeah.
So I'd heard about it, and occasionally I'd seen glimpses of it, like, you know. And then there used to be a cinema in Croydon that was originally the ABC, then was the Canon, and it used to show Kung Fu movies. And next to it was a nightclub called Sinatra's. And we'd often go to Sinatra's and we'd come out and then get in fights with the people who'd seen the Kung Fu movies. And it would all get messy, you know. But it was like, so for me, I discovered like there was, you know, the Prince Charles that keeps going to show movies, and then there was also a cinema called the Metro, which was just off of Chinatown, and it would show Chinese movies in the afternoon and art films in the evening.
Yeah.
But the same thing, there was no advertising, there was no internet, so you had to rely on word of mouth.
Yeah.
You'd see a poster and be like, wait a minute,
what
is this movie? Where is it playing? How can I get it?
And when I saw those ads
in Chinatown, that some shops would not serve you or sell you stuff because maybe it was the language of it, or maybe it was thing, but it was kind of like the whole Bruce Lee Kung Fu thing. Like, you can't teach Kung Fu to the foreigners. You can't let these Westerners see the Kung Fu movies.
I did experience that in Boston, Chinatown, when I went out to travel America from 20. And I tried to buy some videos, Yimbu's Dragon from Shaolin. That's what I was buying. And they would. I think you were lucky that they didn't. Yeah, I was lucky. I did get it eventually. I got it, but they refused. They were like, "No, I don't think so." You know. But at that same trip, I did have my first experience of a Kung Fu cinema, and I went to the last, as I was told then, the last surviving 24-hour Kung Fu cinema in Times Square. It was in a basement that stunk of piss. It was disgusting, full of homeless people who, because it was $5 in, you could watch 4 screens as many times as you want. I can't remember all the movies, but I do know that Iron Angels 3 was playing, and I watched it about 3 times that day. What a waste of a day in New York, really. But yeah, I mean, that was an experience and a half. And I went back, the next time I went back to New York, it was already closed down and gone, you know. So I managed to get one experience of that. But I think you were very lucky to have that ability to go and see these on the big screen, because it's something I totally missed out on, you know.
No, I mean, and the funny thing is, it's like, even when I arrived in Hong Kong, one of the funniest things was, like, I look back now and realize how little preparation I made for Hong Kong.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I basically was like, Hong Kong is a British colony. Officially, it has 2 languages, English and Cantonese. I'm going to Hong Kong, everyone speaks English. Very quickly learned that was not the case. And the same thing, like, it sounds a bit, even some things of going to the cinema, I would constantly be asked by the people at the cinema, do you know this is a Chinese movie?
Yeah.
Are you aware? Because they were worried that I would come down and go, this movie's not in English.
Give me my money back.
Yeah, so, and the same thing, like trying to rent movies, and they'd be like, no, this is the Hong Kong movie. I'm like, yeah, I want to buy it. I want to rent it, you know. And realizing in Hong Kong, there was no collector's market. There was no memorabilia shops. Like, I assumed it's going to be like England, you know, there's poster shops, there's everything. No. Yeah. It was hard.
Yeah. Well, then that leads me into the next question then, is what, and as we know, and we have obviously experienced for the last umpteen years, your inspirations from finding Hong Kong cinema at an early age. You've obviously then went out there 30 years now you're there to work.
Too long.
Yeah. So
I thought I'd be here for a couple of months if I was lucky. And I'm now in my 32nd, beginning my 33rd year.
Wow. I mean, you've done what I always wanted to do, and I don't know why I didn't do it. I don't know whether I just didn't have the nerve to go out. I probably did, but I don't know. There was something there. I didn't manage to achieve that trip after leaving high school or becoming an adult as such, of getting out there and doing what you're doing, you know, which is unfortunate.
No, I mean, the thing is, it's like anything, like, I'm not going to say it's been like Oliver Twist and I've suffered and cried. It's not been, oh, I arrived and it was all easy and it was wonderful. There's been ups and downs and there's been hard times and you learn a lot. There's like simple things like I thought I was pretty worldly wise by the time I arrived in Hong Kong. No, it wasn't.
No.
Even simple things like cooking. I was used to 4 hot plates, a grill, an oven. Came to Hong Kong. If you're lucky, you got 2 hot plates.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Mike, if you want to rent this apartment, you need to put down money for an electricity deposit. How do I do that? How do I register this? How do I do that? All these things that in England I'd never had to do because I lived at home.
Totally fish out of water.
I was in a foreign country and it was just, learning on the go.
Yeah. So what would have been your first job then in the industry? What would you've...
The first job I ever got was for a commercial for Wise in You, which is a anti-diarrhea medicine.
Wow, okay.
And it's still on TV 33 years later.
Are you serious?
I got paid the princely sum of £55 or so.
Oh my gosh.
And so I thought, I'm in, baby. And it's basically, I'm on the waterfront. I've got diarrhea. And a Chinese actor, Wu Fong, comes dancing up and goes, Why is it you? And hands me some pills. And I take some, and then everyone on the waterfront dances.
Wu Fong, an actor that was Cynthia Can's
He was in the old
dad.
movies. He was, oh my God, he's in like The Red Wolf.
Was he Cynthia Can's father in Madam City Hunter?
Yes.
Yes.
Who has the kind of kinky love scene with a wife dressed in
I know him. Very good. Wow, my goodness.
And he was very bemused that I was a white guy and knew who he was. Wow. Especially when he was like, wait a minute, you're not even from Hong Kong. How do you know who I am?
But what an amazing
Because that was also
experience.
Something that was very amazing, was to arrive in Hong Kong and realize there was a big disconnect between the Eastern and Western communities here. Like, I thought, it's going to be like you go to Hong Kong movies are mainstream, and they are for Hong Kong Chinese people. Western press to this day knows nothing about Hong Kong movies. Every so often, the Hong Kong English language press will interview some huge actor who's a Western actor in Hong Kong or China who's the biggest star. And I'm like, who is this person? This is all BS. But, but the Western press here are like, no, he said he's a star. Look, he's got a picture with Jackie Chan.
Yeah. For goodness sake.
And it's so it was very interesting to realize that the local, the expatriate, the Western community here had so little interaction into Chinese entertainment, of Chinese film, Chinese TV, Chinese music.
Yeah.
It was very separate.
Yeah, it's strange.
There's still to this day very few Westerners who are into Hong Kong movies in Hong Kong.
Wow. I would have thought, again, naivety at an earlier age, thought that was the reason a lot of them went out. Of course, there's many other business opportunities and things there, but I know. Wow. I mean, there is quite a vast amount of Westerners you see in the movies, especially when you've watched thousands of them. You do see a rake of Westerners, but I'm often guessing that they're just pulled off the street and offered a part.
The problem is, and it's frustrating for me as a casting director, is that too often Western characters are regarded kind of as props.
Yes, yeah.
Like a there was a movie I was working on, and I got hired to bring in the two main foreign leads.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought both of them in from England, and they cast everyone else locally. And it's about the police. And I'm on set going, but he's Russian, and he's French, and he's German.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, it doesn't matter. Okay. And then when we're doing the post-production, they're like, wait, that guy doesn't sound very English. I'm like, because he's French. Yeah. And the problem is sometimes they'll cast people on look. They'll go, oh, he has a look. That's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll go, yeah, but he can't actually do anything. Oh, no, but mate, look at him.
Yeah.
And then on set, like, Mike, he can't do anything. I'm like, well, really?
You were told, yeah.
It's a very weird thing. I mean, and the casting process is often, we'll just hire some Westerner just because we know him, which is both good and bad.
Yeah.
Like,
but would that have been how you started, in a sense that, because we look at some older Hong Kong movies and we see a young skinny Mike pop up here and there, right? So
with hair, with lots of hair.
Yeah. So would you have then went into, before you sort of focus more on the casting side of things, went into bit parts and things like that?
I very quickly realized that I was a very bad martial artist. And it's something I regret, that I had the opportunity to train with a lot of really good people, and I never took it seriously.
Yeah. Okay.
So I very quickly realized I'm not as good as most of these people. Mm-hmm. So let them do all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then I just started getting offers of work behind the screen and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm in the industry. I'm getting to work in the industry. I get to be on set. This is cool. So
you're working with your heroes, really, aren't you?
And the thing is, I came to Hong Kong as a fan, and 33 years later, I'm still a fan.
Of course.
Like, it's very easy to be like, oh no, I'm in the industry now. Oh, I saw Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
I still get a buzz out of Jackie Chan or Donnie, or when Donnie will call me or something, and I get to have a coffee with someone. Like the other day, I was talking to Ronnie Yu, who's a very good friend, very good director, and I still get a buzz. I was like, oh, I just got to talk to Ronnie Yu. Yeah. Like I've always said, the minute I don't like what I'm doing, that's when I'm going to leave. I don't want to be one of these people who's like, oh, 25 years ago it was so much better.
But I mean, we're still waiting on that book that you're going to write, because
I need to wait for some people to die.
What a story. Yeah. I mean,
including me, so that they can't get me.
Okay, so you just record everything you want me to record everything you want me to write.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, I mean, like, regarding the Westerns here, you could kind of say at one point it was almost like the French Foreign Legion. Mm-hmm. There was this very strange group of Westerners here, all doing movies from very different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it was just mad. But it's like, like I made some friends when I first arrived here that 30 odd years later I'm still friends with.
Very good. Yeah.
It was just mad. I mean, like my old flatmate Mike Miller, he was a Australian martial artist and actor. Mm-hmm. He's in like Once Upon a Time in China 2. He's a villain in Knockoff.
That's right, with the glasses. Yes.
The first time I heard of him was on Once Upon a Time in China 2. One of the stunt guys came up and went, mate, you got to meet this other guy, Mike. He's so crazy. I went, we shot him with an arrow. Oh, shit. And I was like, what? And basically, there's a scene in Once Upon a Time in China 2, and they needed one of the Westerners to get hit with an arrow. Mm-hmm. And Mike Miller volunteered. So you see in the scene, Mike Miller comes down and he plays the doctor who bangs on a Moxie Chung's knee and goes, reflex action, and then gets an arrow. Yeah. Mike assumed that, like in the West, it would either be the arrow's on a arrow pops up, or it's on a ratchet or something. No, they gave Mike a jacket and they put a bit of wood in the pocket and they fired an arrow.
Jeez.
And he got 5 pounds extra for doing that.
Well, let me say, that's more than I give my actor in Battle of the Bone, who turned into Zombie John, right? And he had to get stabbed in the hospital. And we literally put about 40 sheets of A4 paper up his t-shirt and rammed a knife into.
Well, that's because you're crazy and you hate people that kill them.
I know, but we didn't give him £5 extra.
but the thing is, like, So the funny thing is, we'd all hear about each other.
Yeah.
And it was a very small community of Western, which is why it's sometimes very funny when I read articles or interviews about people who had these extensive Hong Kong careers that none of us in Hong Kong know about.
Yeah, right.
There's a gentleman in America who was doing tons of articles in the mid-90s talking about his huge career in Hong Kong and how he just had the #1 movie in Hong Kong and he'd done all these movies here and he could never name any of them.
Interesting.
But basically, it was very interesting. Like he then added himself on IMDb to hundreds of movies with a fake Chinese name.
Oh, for goodness sake.
And then, of course, even better, invented a couple of movies. Like there's a movie that he made that saw him starring alongside Rosamund Kwan, Anita Moy, Christy Jung, and everything. But strangely, that movie was never released anywhere in the world.
Oh, for goodness.
But the problem is people, will go, look, I've got a picture of me and Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan's my best friend. I shot 500 movies with him. And I'd be like, what's the Chinese title? What's the thing? The funny thing was, I just finished doing True Legend with Yuen Woo-ping, and I was in America for the American film market, and I met someone who had just worked with Yuen Woo-ping playing the main villain on his new movie, and I was like, which movie? Oh, True Legend. I went, really? And he's like, yeah. I was like, but I was the casting director.
Oh my God.
You weren't there. Oh, no. I tried out for it. I'm like, #1, that's not what you just said.
Yep.
And #2, if you tried out, I would have seen your reel.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, it was another movie. And I go, this is the problem. That and the other thing as well, there's certain people who were here for a while, but their careers after they left Hong Kong, their career in Hong Kong somehow was reimagined.
So what? I mean, this period, then you're talking late 80s, mid 80s to late 80s, and kind of
basically the
early
prime
90s.
time for Westerners was probably from about 86 to about 93, 94.
Yeah. Okay. That's what.
And that was when every movie needed a white guy in a denim jacket who could do kung fu.
And they were always
what's lacking in Hong Kong movies to this day.
You're telling me.
Bring it back.
Yeah, that's what there were
Westerners
a lot of familiar faces
who can do Chinese martial arts.
Like Jeff Falcon was a prime example.
Jeff Falcon, Mark Houghton, Bruce Fontaine, Ken Goodman, all those guys. That's what we need.
And they were always in them. You could see them. They're always Mark Houghton, always popping up in everything and anything. Even if it was for one scene.
Because there was such a demand, and there was always such a limited pool of Westerners that once people knew you and they knew what you could do, we know this guy can fight. We know this guy can follow choreography. It helped, because the hardest thing is sometimes people will arrive in Hong Kong, or I've had them on movies, and you might be a fantastic real life champion, but you don't know how to adapt to a movie.
Yeah.
And it can sometimes be a very heartbreaking thing, because I've seen people who have conquered the world, but they can't handle the timing and they can't get the rhythm. One problem I think as well a lot of people have is sometimes when people make their first movie, they're making a movie, oh my God, I'm being doubled. I'm being doubled to make me look bad. No, you're not. You're being doubled to make the character look effective. On Fearless, at one point, I'm doubled for sitting down because I was busy somewhere else. So they had to double me.
Well, they needed the shot.
They weren't trying to make me look bad.
Yeah.
The problem is you go, fighting for film is a complete different martial art, and it can be a lot of stress. And sometimes with Jackie or someone, it's very hard for the timing. It's they're very demanding. So sometimes they'll drop a double in just because they know it's quicker, it's easier. It's not to make someone look bad.
Yeah.
It's just, if you actually watch Yes, Madam with Cynthia Rothrock and Michelle Yeoh, Michelle Yeoh at one point is fighting the Chinese Rambo, Chung Fa. He's got the curly hair, the moustache, and Rambo. And he's doubled by Chin Gallop for most of the fight.
Oh, right.
Because him and Michelle Yeoh, for some reason, their timing wouldn't connect.
Wow, okay.
And Chung Fa is one of the best martial artists in the business. But just for some reason, him and Michelle Yeoh, the timing just wouldn't adjust. Wow. Whereas Garlock, Garlock can fight you. He can fight me in the same scene. He'll speed up. He'll slow down. Like if you watch In the Line of Duty 4, during the finale, Donnie Yen is fighting originally Cho Wing, the guy with the ponytail.
Yeah.
And in one sequence, he's fighting Donnie Yen, and then he transitions to fighting Cynthia Khan. And if you watch closely, Cho Wing slows down as he's fighting Cynthia Khan to make her look good.
Yeah. She didn't have the speed or
her
power. Her
skill level wasn't as skilled as Donnie.
Yeah.
But they knew, okay, Cho Wing and Donnie can go 1,000 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia Khan and Cho Wing can go 500 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So he slowed down. And sometimes I think you'll go, okay, we'll double that person for a flip or for a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to get the wrong idea.
Mm.
And sometimes as well, because of language and like, prime example, like Yuen Woo-ping. Yuen Woo-ping doesn't speak a lot of English.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when he speaks English, if you don't know him or know what he means, it can sound like he's cursing you out.
Right.
Because you'll throw a punch and he'll be like, George, no good. But he actually means, George, that punch does not look good.
Mm-hmm.
I need more. But he'll be just like, no good. George, why?
Yeah.
And if you don't understand, you're like, oh my God, he's dissing me. He's saying, and I'm there going, no. What he actually means is this.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. Like, and sometimes it's hard because like, a lot of time in Hong Kong, you're winging it with the choreography. It's being made up as you go.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you're not getting a chance to rehearse. When we did a Big Brother with Donnie Yen, Jess Loudon, I brought in Jess Loudon to play the MMA champion who fights Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
And Jess is a proven UFC fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a ton of movies. And I think even he would admit that Hong Kong was like suddenly being thrown into a different ballgame because he did rehearsals with Donnie's double. And then Donnie was like, okay, let's do it. Okay, we're going to do a rehearsal. No, we're going to do it. And he's like, yeah, but I know the stunt guy's timing. I don't know your time.
Yeah.
And Donnie was like, no, let's go. And it's very hard because, you know, if you clock the star, you're in trouble. Oh, yeah. And it's so the problem is, I think a lot of people don't understand that it's that thing of, it's an industry, it's a business. Mm-hmm. In the old days, Jackie could take 2 years to make a movie. You could knock him out and go, okay, we'll come back in a couple of days, whatever. Those days changed.
Yeah.
And the problem is sometimes the same thing, you know, if you can catch the timing, they can expand the fight. If you're not catching it, they'll adjust it. Also, Hong Kong scripts are very fluid. So I've done shoots where, prime example is Big Brother. Mm-hmm. Big Brother, I'm the MMA manager.
Which is
hilarious. I didn't know I was in that movie until the morning we were shooting.
I remember you telling me.
I brought in all the fighters and I'd been at rehearsals. And then because they were filming at the studio that's literally the end of my street, I said, I'll swing by tomorrow and everything. And 7 o'clock in the morning, one of the ADs was like, hey, Big Mike, Donnie wants to know what time you're going to be here. I was like, maybe 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Oh, Donnie says you need to come early. I'm like, okay, I could maybe come at 12. No, Donnie says you need to be here early. Why? Well, because you're in the first shot. I'm like, what do you mean I'm in the first shot? I'm like, I'm not in the movie. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Since when? Since this morning. I'm like, I don't have a costume.
Oh my God.
So if you watch the movie, I'm wearing a t-shirt that's way too tight.
Yeah.
My own jacket, my own sweatpants. Because it's like, yeah. And
it was brilliant.
So
it was great.
That sometimes it changed. I mean, the funny thing of that is I had to put up with a couple of Western actors in China being, I would have played that role very differently, and I would have done this. And I was like, you do know there wasn't a script for that scene. Like, you do know it was like, hey,
you
this.
just winged it.
Hey, come up with this. I was like, it wasn't that we'd had weeks of rehearsal.
Yeah.
You know? And that is the problem. So I think sometimes people get confused with doubling that. Of course, in a perfect world, everyone will do everything themselves. But sometimes they'll want you to do a technique you can't do. Sometimes it's the timing. Sometimes it's just, maybe they want you to throw the kick, hold your leg for a second, then bring it back, and you're not used to doing that, whatever. It's very easy to go, I'm being doubled to make me look bad. You're not. Yeah. If they want to make you look bad, they can make you look very, very bad.
Without a doubt, yeah.
You know? And if they really don't like you, they can hurt you on set. But the worst thing is when people come in with that mindset. We were shooting one movie one time, and one of the actors accidentally clocked Colin Chow, Nai Singh. And Nai Singh got hit in the face and went, you hit me. And the Western actor made the biggest mistake possible. He went, well, you hit me yesterday.
What?
And Colin Chow went, oh, okay. And proceeded to bounce that guy off the wall for the rest of the day.
I was going to say, it's not a guy I'd like to piss off.
Because I was like, you've just made it seem like you hit him on purpose.
Yep.
You
totally.
know, instead of saying, I'm really sorry, man, because it was completely not his fault that Colin Chow got hit.
Yeah.
But it was like, as soon as you say,
yeah,
you know, it's a terrible thing. So I think sometimes it's just, you've got to come in and go, okay, here's everything I have.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it to one side. What do you need me to do? It's like with with Brad Allen, God bless him, the late Brad Allen from Jackie's team. Brad, when he first got into film, didn't know that you could speed up film.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought, I have to be that fast. So when he first started working with Jackie, they were like, can you slow down a bit? Like, you don't have to be that fast. We can undercrank, we can speed up. And he was like, I didn't know that. Yeah. He was like, holy shit.
Gosh, wow.
Because his introduction to filmmaking was for a guy called Lung Chan Singh, who's a wushu teacher in Australia, and through my godfather, the late great Alip from Nightlife Hero, etc. And they were meant to do this movie in Australia, and Alip had bought a couple of stuntmen from Hong Kong and Taiwan, who were some of the best stuntmen. And Alip, God bless him, was very sarcastic. So Brad turns around and sees one of the Taiwanese stunt guys, just doing lines of back handsprings. And he's like, oh my God, that guy's so good. And Alip is like, he's the worst stuntman in Hong Kong. Yeah, he's rubbish. He's no good. So Brad was like, that's the worst? I've got to be that level to be the worst? Holy shit, I got to train. So the thing is, the same thing when people forget that you go, it's great that you can kick, but you've also got to be able to do reactions. You've also got to be able to punch. You've also got to be able to learn weapons. You've got to be able to adapt. Because this movie, you're playing a mercenary. So a prime example would be if you watch Operation Condor or Armor of God 1 as well. There's a lot of really good Western martial artists in that.
That's right.
But it's not a kung fu movie. So Jackie is saying, no, you can't be doing eagle claw and mantis. Oh, no, I need you to be boxing, and maybe you throw a kick, and maybe you throw a knee and an elbow. Yeah, but I'm an eagle claw champion, or I'm such and such. Yeah, but you're playing a mercenary.
Yes.
It won't make sense for you to suddenly be doing all that. So the problem is as well, sometimes the same thing, you might get hired and be, oh my God, I'm going to have the big fight. And then you find out, oh, it's now a boxing movie. So you're not going to kick. But I'm a kicker. Yeah, but we want you to box.
Yeah.
So it can sometimes be very, because sometimes it's miscommunication or sometimes ideas change. Like there was a movie 2 years ago called Knockout with a Chinese actor called Hung Gun. And that movie was written and directed by a very good friend of mine, Roy Chow Hin-young, who directed Dynasty Warriors, Murderer,
Rise of the Legend.
Nightfall. Yeah, Rise of the Legend.
Underrated.
And basically, when we were doing the casting for Fearless, Roy followed me around the world, shooting 3 documentaries that have never been released.
Oh, what?
That we shot about the casting process and the making of Fearless. Like, one documentary is called In Search of the Hidden Masters, and it follows us while we track down all these fighters and everything. Because originally in Fearless, the end tournament was 12 different fighters.
Wow.
If you watch the movie, you'll see that standing next to Jet Li for the entire ending, there's a big burly Sanda kickboxing guy and a really cool looking wushu guy. They were originally meant to fight. They never got to fight. So the funny thing was, Roy, when we were doing that, I took Roy to a gym in London called Fitzroy Lodge, which is under the railway arches in Brixton, and it's a real snatched down and dirty brick top kind of gym. I took him also to, what's the gym in LA? To Freddie Roach's gym in LA. Freddie Roach is the guy who taught Mike Tyson. And Roy was like, I've got this idea for a boxing movie. And for like 15 years, he was doing it. So when we were originally going to do Knockout, I was originally going to be in the movie playing this former boxer who's punch drunk, who claims to have been a boxing champion and now owns a shitty gym in Shanghai. I claim to have been in the military. And basically, I'm the only person who gives the hero a place to train, whatever. And it was awesome because I was like, holy shit, like I'm a major character in this movie. And like at one point I was meant to hit a judge because I misunderstand what the judge has said in Chinese. So I throw something at the judge and start fighting him. And they're all going, what are you doing? And I'm like, he said that this. And they're like, no, he didn't. I'm like, oops. You know, and then at one point, all these military guys come, and I was like, holy shit. And they were like, oh yeah, Commander Mike called us. We've got to come and train your guy.
Yeah.
So it was great. I was like, this is cool. We made the deal. We made the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get the phone call. Hey, Mike, Philip Kern, Hakjai, one actor, he's agreed to be in the movie as a cameo, but he likes the movie so much. He's like, oh, I think it's pointless if I just do a day or two. Why don't you expand my role? So we're going to rewrite your role and give it to him.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm nowhere near as famous as Hakjai.
Yeah.
I completely understand. It was a bugger and a half. But it was like, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And,
yeah.
You know, it's like, the problem is people forget that it happens to everybody. It happens to big names too. There's a Chinese actress called Zhang Jingqiu, and she was the grown-up daughter in Rush Hour 3.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And when we cast her for that movie, the script was Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker, and her team up and fight the gangsters.
Very good.
When the movie came out, she's handcuffed in the corner going, help.
Yeah.
Help. That's a kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
Not because she's a bad actress, just the script changed. I then cast her for Mission Impossible, not the last one, but the one before. I think, was it Ghost Protocol? Yeah.
It would be,
whichever one it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was originally playing Simon Pegg's girlfriend.
Right.
But the movie came in at 4.5 hours long. So they cut about 2 hours out of the movie, including her entire story. So you see her in one scene at the very beginning, standing next to Alec Baldwin. And then she's never seen again. And people go, oh, what a shitty role. You go, no, they had to change the story. And that's what sometimes people forget, that, you know, during the process of making a movie, like what you found it when you were doing stuff and you realized the kid, the young lad, you know, could do everything. You're like, I'll give him more to do. You know, so it's not necessarily this person is bad. It's just sometimes you can't catch the flavor, or
of course
the story changes or timing changes. When they did Inspector Wears Skirts Part 1, Jeff Falcon is the main fighting foreign villain.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so when they made the sequel, a big part of the sequel's plot is the other foreigners rescue him and set it up like there's going to be this huge ending.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens. Because at the time, Jackie was shooting Miracles, and Miracles was way behind schedule. And Golden Harvest said, we need to have a Jackie Chan credited movie out for Chinese New Year. So we're just going to release Inspector Wears Skirts 2 early. So they cut all the action. Bruce Fontaine had the even worse thing. Bruce Fontaine had been hired. Then they said, we don't think there's enough action. We might want to think. So nobody cut your hair for 2 weeks. Bruce calls up production after 2 and says, hey, look, are we going to do pickups? Because I have another movie coming. They said, no, you're fine. Bruce goes and gets his haircut. He comes out of the barber's to a pager message. Hey, don't cut your hair. Filming isn't always easy. I said, as you said, I got hurt. On abduction, I cracked my sternum with my chin. Because everyone was like, make sure you tuck and roll. And I tucked a bit too hard. And the funny thing is, I had a would-be American martial artist who had wanted to be in the movie, but couldn't get his shit together, couldn't send a show reel, couldn't do anything. When the movie came out, sends me this obnoxious message that, I saw the movie, Mike, and the reason you got hurt is because the guy you hired instead of me wasn't as good, and blah, 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 blah. And I had to point out that, number one, I'm the one who hurt myself. Nobody else had it. It was me. I hate myself, so I hurt myself.
Oh, for goodness. 2,
the guy I'm fighting is one of the leads. Did you think I was asking you to be one of the leads? In which case you couldn't get your shit together? Makes you stupid. And also, he's the Asian lead. You're a white guy.
Yeah.
Did you think you were going to play the Asian lead?
Stranger things have happened.
And he's like, oh, and the guy has no skill. Like, the guy is one of the top action actors in Asia.
My God.
And the problem is, this gentleman, I think he thinks he's incredible.
Yeah.
And he's very, oh, I'm legit, I'm this, I'm that. Anyone can do that jumping around stuff. Anyone can do. I'm like, then show us what you can do. And when he sent me footage, eventually I was like, oh my God, he doesn't know anything.
Gosh.
And I came to the terrible conclusion that he's the guy who went to every lesson and listened to every word the teacher said. And the teacher went, well, he's shit, but he does turn up every time. So I'll promote him and give him the, because the footage he sent me was so bad. Like to the point of, I sent him people's reels for reference, and I sent him, there's a French Vietnamese martial artist called Helen Tran.
Oh yes,
and I sent him her reel, and Helen's reel I hold up as a benchmark for, this is a person on their own. It's a 3-minute reel, but at the end of that 3 minutes, you know exactly what she can do. Yeah. You can see she can punch, she can kick, she can flip, she can do weapons, she can react, Send it to him. Response, she doesn't know what she's doing. And I'm like, number one, I'm like, you are the first person to ever tell me that. Yeah. Number two, she's a bona fide world champion.
And I've seen that show reel, and it's impressive.
Yeah. Number three, she's one of the most in-demand stunt people in Europe. And I go, this is one, there's a lot of people who they've decided they're a star. They've decided they're thing. And I'm sure you've had it where people say, oh, I'm in this movie, or I'm this, or
yes,
you know, I've decided that I should be considered as this.
Of course.
And I think unfortunately, one of the good things of Hong Kong cinema is if you're here, you get the opportunity. One of the bad things is that sometimes you'll get thrown into the fire, you know, to get the opportunity. It's very easy to blame everyone else. You know, and to be like, oh yeah, you know, my career has been ended by these people. They set me up. It's all against me. I didn't get the role because I was blocked. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
But those are the kind of people you don't really want to work with.
No, and that's exactly that. A very good friend of mine sums up. He says, there are people who are unfortunately set cancer. And it's true. You know, they're the ones asking, how much are you getting paid? Oh, I wouldn't work for that price. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. When we did Big Brother, there was a gentleman on set who was an extra. And the first day, he was trying to get into every single shot. You're like, we walk into the gym, he's there. Yeah. There's a wide shot, he's over there. And he's trying to live stream to his fans from the set. And by the end of the first day, he had a character listed on IMDb. What? Donnie Yen didn't have a character name. Ray Lloyd didn't have a character name. None of people, but he had a character name and a bio.
Oh, for God's sake.
And then the funny thing was, it was a 9-day shoot for the gym fight. After 4 days, he stopped turning up because it was too much effort, you know. Another friend of mine, an English-Chinese actor, was working on a show in Singapore with him. And I see a picture and I go, oh, I see you're working with so-and-so. Oh yeah, Mike, he says you're like a mentor to him and you gave him this big supporting role in Big Brother, and Big Brother's his big break for Hollywood. And I was like, really? And then when Big Brother came out, this actor was like, Mike, what the fuck? And I go, this is the problem. If you're going to sell the sizzle, you'd better be able to deliver it.
Oh, you've got to. Yeah.
I think when we did the movie Blood, the Last Vampire, at the last minute, I got called in to do some casting. First thing I cast was the director had a nightmare. And he calls me up and says, Mike, I had a nightmare. I had a dream about a vampire bar, and I want somebody big to play a bouncer in the vampire bar. And I said, me? And he went, no, bigger than you.
Oh, yes.
And then I went, what about 2 7'4" black guys? And he was like, excuse me? I went, twin brothers.
Huge, yeah.
Because I'd met these 2 guys, the Duff brothers, Jamal and John, when we were casting Fearless. They came in, we didn't have anything for them in Fearless, but they made an impression. 1, because they're so huge, but 2, They were so polite, so nice, so helpful. I called them up. They came in and they were rock stars. And they rolled with everything. Then they decided they wanted to have a scene with a whole bunch of Western fighters. And they said, but we have a budget issue. So I sent out an email to 50 people, literally saying, hi guys, sorry for the mass email, but I need an answer tomorrow. This is the deal. I need you in Hong Kong in a week for a 10-day shooting in China, blah, blah, blah. When I sent the thing out, Corey Yun was like, oh, big mate, nobody will answer your email. The next day, there were 48 yeses. One guy was like, I'd like to come, but I'm getting married on Saturday. And I don't think my wife would appreciate me leaving. But keep me in mind for next time. One gentleman, no response. 3 months after the shoot, he messages me to complain that I had hired these other people and not him. And I'm like, dude, I had a week to get people to think. I didn't have time. Like, yeah, but you hired them. I was like, and that in his mind thing. And then the funny thing was, a couple of years later, he messages me to tell me how he knows that Jackie Chan's Chinese Zodiac is filming in England. And I need to get him the end fight with Jackie because I owe him. And I'm like, number one, Chinese Zodiac is filming in England? Wow, that's something none of us know.
Yeah.
It didn't shoot in England. No. Number two, I owe you? If you're humble, if people know you're trying, people can forgive a lot of issues.
Of course. Yeah.
But also, if you're telling everyone just how good you are, how you are the best, how you beat 500 people for the role, how Jackie Chan and everyone love you, and they want to hire you for every movie. When that movie comes out, you'd better be fucking good. I just found at my house a box of DV tapes with behind the scenes I'd shot on The Medallion, on Extreme Challenge. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to be digitizing them. You know,
wow.
Like basically, I've got every single fight from Extreme Challenge, all the rehearsals, all the takes.
I recently managed to finally get that movie. I got it from Germany. I know, but it was like £2 from Germany. Yeah. So I was like, fuck it, I have never seen it. Very, not what I expected, but fun to some degree.
I want to remake it because I like the idea.
Yeah. I think today, with today's technology and special effects, it would be much better. But it was exciting. It was exciting. Was that Scott's first role?
That was Scott's very first movie.
But it was wonderful. You know. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, for £2, it was brilliant. I also got it with Techno Warriors, Philip Koh's Techno Warriors. So I can't wait. I haven't watched it yet. I'm still getting around to that.
Okay. The funny thing of that is they shot one movie called Techno Warriors.
Yeah.
And they shot so much stuff that, like, as they finished it, Philip Koh went, you know what, we can turn this into 2 movies. So they decided to add some extra stuff. There's some great ideas and there's some great moments in there, but it's just so cheap and lost and mad. Like at one point, there is an attack by 20 Slave One ships from the Boba Fett spaceship from Return of the Jedi.
Seriously?
Like they just turn up and start the thing. So then they shot another one, and then Philip Koh decided to cut it up and make it. So the first movie, Techno Warriors, is like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
it's set in this crazy world where George can fly and Kenny's got superpowers and blah, blah, blah. The sequel, Digital Warriors, is set in the real world, and just every time we watch clips from Techno Warriors movies and talk about it, and then one character escapes from the video game. And it's just like...
What?
But it's like, I have such fun movies. I went and hung out with Darren, and that's when me and Darren went and saw Drive at the cinema. Good. Me and Darren are sitting in the cinema in Manila, and the cinema is empty, and a guy comes in and proceeds to sit next to us.
I hate that.
And this is like 1,000-seat cinema, and then the guy tries to pick Darren's pocket.
What?
And Darren literally is like, "What the fuck are you doing?" The guy's like, "Guys, got his hand in his pocket." He's like, "What?" And I was like, what are you trying to do? The guy's like, nothing. And like, anyone else would have got up and run away. This guy then withdrew his hand and carried on watching the movie.
Oh, you for real?
Like,
oh my
Darren,
God.
we need to get out of this cinema because this guy's obviously on another planet.
Yep.